The film looked like a party that would never end, a chaotic fraternity, a campus revolt, and the kind of outrageous anarchy that defined an entire generation. Animal House didn't just smash box office records, it smashed its way into the culture, defining an entire genre in the process. Back when comedies were shot on instinct instead of algorithms, and when seeing a film in a packed theater was a shared cultural moment, this one felt like a live grenade the studio wasn't sure it wanted to hold. Under the laughter, the whole production was pure, honest chaos from the moment the cameras rolled. Actors were riding the edge of total burnout, real food fights left ceilings dripping, and every stunt was one bad decision away from disaster. These are 20 facts about Animal House that reveal what really happened behind the madness. Fact number 1, John Belushi arrived for filming already running on fumes. He was flying back and forth between the tiny Oregon town where they were filming and the live sketch show he performed in New York, a grueling schedule that would be impossible today. This was back when flexible schedules and private jets weren't smoothing every turn for actors. He would finish a live show, grab a red-eye flight, stumble off the plane, and immediately be shoved into costume. That heavy, slow walk you see in some of his most iconic scenes, it wasn't entirely acting. It was a man held together by adrenaline, cigarettes, and the belief that you just kept going until someone physically stopped you. On-screen chaos demanded a real human cost, and Belushi paid it every time he flew across the country. Fact number 2, the college administration very nearly shut down the entire production. The college had imagined a gentle, respectable campus comedy that might enhance their image with local newspapers and word of mouth. Instead, administrators watched the dailies, the raw, unedited footage, full of drunk students, smashed guitars, and a marching band crashing into a dead end. This was back when a college's reputation was fragile and rode on local perception, not controlled online campaigns. For a few tense days, there were serious talks about kicking the production off campus, which would have killed the film before it was finished. The real chaos of Delta House was simply too much for the academic establishment of 1978. Fact number 3, the legendary food fight used genuine, industrial-size cafeteria slop. The set was filled with real food, not safe, specially prepared stunt food you'd see on a set today. Just trays of mashed potatoes, limp green beans, and mystery slop hurled at people's heads. Under the hot lights of the day, with no modern ventilation systems, the smell thickened by the minute, turning the air into a warm, sour cloud. The crew later said the walls stayed tacky for days, long after the actors had showered and gone home, a visceral memory of the commitment to authenticity. Back then, they didn't fake the mess, they just cleaned it up later. Fact number 4, a cast member cracked a rib diving onto a table, a stunt that was pure impulse. The injury was not planned in advance. It was an impulse in the middle of a live take. He launched himself forward, misjudged the distance, and slammed into the edge of the table with a sickening thud. This was before padded tables and stunt coordinators were standard on every single gag. He spent the rest of the shoot strapped up under his shirt, trying to hide the pain while pretending nothing hurt, knowing that every laugh on screen pulled at bone. What audiences saw as a funny fall was the result of a real-life physical trauma hidden just beneath the costume. Fact number 5, several pages of the script went missing right before a major scene, forcing the actors to improvise. There were no digital backups, no cloud storage, just paper that vanished in the clutter of the production office. The director, John Landis, looked at his actors and simply said, "Fine, just be these guys," trusting their instincts. The result was a largely improvised sequence that captured a raw, unforced energy, and those lines ended up being quoted in dorm rooms for years. The chaos on the page became chaos on film, and nobody ever really missed the lost lines because the spirit of the moment took over. Back then, disaster often became comedy gold. Fact number 6, the air in the iconic toga party set was thick, hot, and nearly unbearable. Old lighting rigs pounded down on layers of cheap fabric and sweaty bodies crammed into a too small space, and the building's air conditioning system barely worked. Back when sets still smelled like stale beer, hot dust, and cigarettes, actors could feel their sandals sticking slightly to the floor as they moved. The set was a furnace, but the cast kept dancing anyway, knowing that the wild, unfiltered energy they were creating was the very heart of the film. Fact number 7, Donald Sutherland made a financial decision that haunts Hollywood legend to this day. The studio offered him a choice for his part, a bit more money up front, or a small percentage of the profits if the film was successful. He took the safer cash, a logical choice in an era when nobody knew if a raunchy college comedy would even survive past opening weekend. When Animal House became a cultural earthquake and one of the most profitable films ever made, the math on that decision turned brutal. It's a vivid reminder that back in the late 70s, the potential of a film like this was an unknown gamble. Fact number 8. John Belushi's drunken cafeteria walk was a barely scripted, silent performance. He wandered through the food line, building silent bits from old slapstick routines he'd grown up watching on late-night television. The infamous moment where he simulates popping a zit with mashed potatoes shocked some of the extras on set who hadn't seen it in rehearsal. Their reactions of genuine disgust and disbelief were real, a mix of not wanting to be there and the surprise that something so gross was actually going into a major studio film. Fact number 9. Karen Allen spent days working in drafty, freezing campus rooms that were perfect for the camera but miserable for the actors. The old campus buildings looked fantastic on film, capturing the institutional atmosphere, but they trapped the cold like stone boxes, and the heating rarely reached the corners. Between takes, she clutched foam cups of cheap coffee, using the lukewarm liquid to warm her hands more than to drink. It was the kind of low-budget discomfort that never appears in contracts, but quietly defines entire shoots from that era. Fact number 10. The marching band sequence nearly turned into a real stampede. The tunnel they charged into wasn't built for that many people running at full speed at once. Shoes slid on loose gravel and dust, and one wrong stumble almost sent the front line crashing back into the rest of the band members. The shot looked hilarious, capturing pure chaos, but the adrenaline running through the extras afterward was described as shaky and very real. Fact number 11. The cast's living conditions were a method acting exercise in student squalor. They were housed in a worn-out motel that felt straight out of a student road trip, complete with thin walls, humming neon, and carpets that smelled like 20 years of cigarette smoke and spilled beer. At night, they played cards, blasted rock music, and occasionally reenacted scenes they'd shot that day. The line between the fictional fraternity they were playing and the real fraternity that was forming in that motel got thinner every week. Back then, the film was the lifestyle, and it permeated everything. Fact number 12. A genuine fistfight broke out between two extras during a crowded, overheated scene. After too many hours of standing around in the same hot, uncomfortable clothes, tempers flared. A shove turned into a punch, and for a few seconds, the camera accidentally captured a real brawl unfolding at the edge of the frame. The director had to cut and physically separate them, but that crackling tension stayed in the room for the next take, giving the scene a roughness you can feel even if you don't know why. Fact number 13. The horse in Dean Wormer's office nearly caused a serious, on-set accident. Surrounded by bright lights, tangled cables, and people shouting, the animal's nerves stretched thin. At one point, it jerked sideways with such force that a handler was nearly crushed between the horse and the heavy furniture. They had to reset the blocking with extreme caution, but for those who were there, the memory of that sudden, powerful lurch never really faded. It was a sharp reminder of the danger inherent in practical, large-scale gags before CGI smoothed everything over. Fact number 14. Tim Matheson shot one of his smoother, most confident sequences while battling a high fever. He shrugged off offers to postpone the shoot, afraid that losing the timing and rhythm the crew had built would be worse than the illness. This was back when casts expected to push through colds and flus, when actors didn't shut down production for minor ailments. He wiped sweat from his hairline between takes, drank lukewarm water to stay hydrated, and then slid right back into character, as if nothing was wrong. That era demanded a physical toughness from its stars that's rarely required today. Fact number 15. A quiet, off-screen romance blossomed between two of the supporting players, hidden from the rest of the crew. It started with late-night line runs in dimly lit hallways and long walks around the small town when the day wrapped early. They kept it discreet, sharing conspiratorial glances across crowded rooms to keep their secret safe. By the time the shoot ended, however, the relationship had already begun to crack under the pressure of distance. Yet, pieces of that genuine connection still flicker through their scenes together, like an echo of a secret that nobody else was supposed to hear. Fact number 16. The parade finale came dangerously close to destroying real downtown storefronts. The floats were much heavier than anyone had anticipated, and the old downtown pavement wasn't designed for that kind of load. One sudden, misjudged turn chewed a corner right off a real wooden awning. Store owners watched the chaos from behind their glass windows, a mix of amusement and genuine horror. The production quietly paid for the repairs, but the memory of those giant, ridiculous floats squeezing down narrow, historic streets stayed with that town for years. Back then, the scale of a comedy meant real physical damage. Fact number 17. John Belushi, the star of the show, simply vanished from the set at a critical point. There were no mobile phones, no text messages to track him. Hours ticked by as people searched back streets, bars, and diners. They finally found him in a small restaurant, sitting completely alone at a table, carefully eating soup and talking softly with an older couple about nothing related to movies or television. He simply told the worried crew that he just needed one quiet afternoon where he wasn't expected to explode with energy or chaos on command. It was a private moment of respite for a performer giving absolutely everything to his art, a level of raw, physical commitment rarely seen today. Fact number 18. A crucial car stunt went sideways when the driver hit an unexpected patch of loose debris. The vehicle's back end swung violently toward a massive bank of filming lights. For a few frozen seconds, it looked like the whole rig might topple over, causing catastrophic damage and potentially injuring the crew. The driver yanked the control back at the last possible moment, missing the metal and glass by mere inches. They quickly reset, laid down more sand for traction, and shot it again. The laugh in that finished scene rides on a razor-thin margin of what could have been a very different and tragic story. Fact number 19. Director John Landis was in constant, brutal conflict with the studio over the film's tone. Studio executives wanted something safer, something closer to a light-hearted campus romp. Landis wanted something louder, dirtier, and more honest to the real stories college students told each other in cramped dorm rooms when the lights were low. Their arguments played out in late-night calls and smoke-filled offices, a battle for the soul of the film. But in the end, Landis's scruffier, riskier, and more authentic vision won the day, delivering the version that audiences embraced as their own. Fact number 20. One extra had to be taken to the hospital after a supposedly harmless gag went wrong. He was supposed to be pushed backward onto a pile of cushions just off camera. The angle went wrong, and he clipped his head violently on a wooden edge that was hidden beneath the padding. This was back before every minor fall had a stunt coordinator and a mandatory safety meeting attached. He returned to the set days later with a bandage and a story that he would tell for the rest of his life, getting injured while making a film that half the country would eventually quote. Animal House shouldn't have held together. It was a production built on a sleep-deprived star, genuine danger creeping at the edge of every stunt, and tempers flaring in borrowed classrooms. But in that strange suspended moment of the late 1970s, it captured something truer than any polished campus fantasy. It came from cold nights in cheap motels, from arguments that lasted until the ashtrays overflowed, and from real bruises hidden under costumes. Back when movies were events, people built their entire evenings around, and when entire audiences experienced them collectively, this one smashed its way into the culture and refused to leave. The laughter on screen is loud, crude, and unforgettable. The story behind it is even messier, and for those who remember seeing it on the big screen, when the energy in the theater was electric, that's exactly why it still feels so alive.